Welcome to the Backyard Horse Enthusiast. In today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome a fellow equine Gestalt practitioner and insightful author, Christina Stinchcomb, the voice behind Riding with the Chakras. Christina's unique blend of horsemanship, energy awareness, and personal transformation invites riders to go beyond mechanics and step into a deeply soulful connection with their horses. Her book isn't just a guide, it's a trail map to self-awareness, energetic alignment, and a whole new level of horse-human partnership. Whether you're curious about chakras, already on a healing journey, or you're just looking to connect more authentically with your horse, this conversation is one you won't want to miss. Now let's dive in. If you're loving this content, a quick like and subscribe will really help the channel. Doesn't cost you anything, and it means the world to me. Thanks for being here. Hey, Christina, welcome to the Backyard Horse Enthusiast. So happy to have you here.
Hi, Kimber. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Uh,
wonderful.
Absolutely. Listen, without further ado, let's give our viewers some information about you and what you do and about your book, Riding with the Chakras. So I'm going to jump right in with your why. What inspired you to write Riding with the Chakras, and how did your journey with horses and energy work begin?
Well, my journey began, I started riding horses when I was about 8 years old. And I had a wonderful pony named Pennywise. She was a Chincoteague pony. I would lived in New Hampshire at the time. And my parents divorced shortly thereafter. And I think my pony was my best friend. She gave me a ton of emotional support that, of course, I just loved her and loved riding and had so much fun. So I didn't, totally understand all of that at the time. But, in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, it's such a blessing for me. I was very fortunate to have her in my life. And then, I had a kind of an independent, pretty disconnected, floaty time in high school and college where I didn't have a lot of home life, and I was away at boarding school and away at college, and I would spend a summer here. And I traveled. I got to really expand my horizons, but I was always kind of searching for some connection and searching for meaning. And so I kind of was on a bit of a spiritual existential path, early on in life. And I had a bit of a hiatus from horses for a while, but when I got back into them as an adult, living in Colorado, in Boulder, up in the mountains, I was able to kind of bring back horses into my life. And for me, it was a connection to nature. It was a connection to spirit, to, God, whatever you want to call that. So chakras were also something that had not something I spent a lot of time on, and although going through Melissa Pierce's Touched by a Horse, the Equine Gestalt coaching program, of course, she talks about chakras, and also studying with Anna Twinney in her Reach Out to Horses programs. She teaches animal communication and Reiki with horses, and it's a very energy based type of work. And so both of those influences in my life was where it started to weave and come together. And then it was a very specific moment, which I remember very well, because it was a giant aha where I realized, as I was helping a friend with her horse and I was riding and I was trying to really look at what was it that I was doing that was creating a certain effect versus what I was trying to help my friend do with her horse. And I had the realization of, wow, I'm actually connecting to my chakras as I'm riding. And suddenly it just was like this whole system download kind of made sense. And I thought, oh, this is such a beautiful merging. How come I haven't heard of this before? Why isn't this a thing? And so I started to look to see, if other people had put this together before, if it was out there at all. And I thought surely I would have known about it. I would have heard about it. And, not that horses and chakras hadn't been connected before, because certainly they were, but in terms of bringing it into the saddle and bringing it into our riding and bringing that awareness of that, the energy and the unspoken language, and how we are, in order to find connection and be connected with our horses and have a nice connected ride, we have to know how to be connected to ourselves. And so I just thought that chakras were such a perfect way of helping people learn more about their own energies and how to be grounded and how to be centered and how to be aligned. Those are kind of the three distilled principles from the 7 or 8 chakras that I talk about in the book. So then when I saw that, nobody had really done it before, and I say really because there was one thing that I found. A woman named Esther Roberts, I believe is her name, had written a series of very short little kind of blog articles that were published in a magazine. It was a horse.com, I don't know, horse magazine, about how the chakras correlate to the dressage training pyramid. So it was a similar concept, but different than what I had in my mind of how it would relate. So I became obsessed. It was the only thing I could think about. I would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning with all these ideas. And just so for the next, year and a half or so, I worked on trying to put this system and all these thoughts and ideas into something coherent. Had help of a wonderful editor, Melanie Mohoff. And yeah, I didn't intend on writing a book. That wasn't necessarily the initial idea. It was more about creating a workshop, creating a workbook, and it evolved into the book. And then there's also a workshop component with it. So
Okay.
long-winded answer to question number one.
Very insightful. And for our viewers, if you're interested in this, both the book, the workshop, learning more about Christina, all her links, her social media links, the Amazon book link, um, they're all in the description. Just click in there. You can also find it in the pinned comments below this video. Christina, your book talks about the mind, body, spirit connection. How does chakra awareness deepen the bond between horse and rider?
Well, I think horses are so naturally connected energetically. They're so intuitive. Many of them are grounded. I think, when it's hard to make just total generalizations because, of course, some horses live a life where they are able to have freedom and friends and forage and all of that. And other horses live a little more stressful life where they're disconnected in a sense, not unlike how humans are somewhat disconnected. And so, as a whole, the idea of us being a little more aware of our own selves as sentient beings, as energy beings, as this is the language of the horse. This is what they speak and they know so well. So when we start to understand the way that they're communicating with us, the way that we're communicating with them, not not even aware of how we're communicating with them. So the idea of the book is really to help people become more aware of their own nonverbal ways of communicating unintentionally, so it's consciously, subconsciously. So bringing that subconscious to the forefront and that awareness so that we can be more intentional and that we can create and be more in tune with what the horses are, what their world is all about and how they're reading us all the time. So it's really about bringing that into our awareness on a deeper level.
Nice. Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. And for our
Yeah.
readers that are new to energy work or chakras, how do you explain this concept in a way that's accessible, practical, especially to someone from the traditional horsemanship world?
Yeah. Great question. It really starts with the idea that we are energy. I have this fun little energy stick that I use in my workshops. It's like a elementary school science tool where you hold on to the ends and it kind of lights up and buzzes, and you can with yourself you can do it, but you can do it with another person so that you make this circuit, and if you let go, the little thing stops buzzing. So helping everyone, first of all, just understand that we are energy. There's an electromagnetic field around living things and the earth, and so also introducing an idea of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine and some ways, some things that are a little bit more mainstream or accepted, because I think that the ancient Hindus, it's like anything where it's a different language, it's a different system, but the universal law, the universality of it all is real. And so just helping first just get that you got to buy in that energy is real and that we're energetic, or it's
Right.
never going to make sense to you. So there's so that's the starting point, that's the entry point. And once you have somebody's attention on thinking about helping them understand, like, okay, well, we do have these gut feelings, we do have these sixth senses and this intuition and these other ways of knowing that may seem woo woo or may seem foreign, but the reality is it's energy, right?
Right.
And so,
Energy is
yeah,
a reality. It
yeah,
doesn't die. It may,
yeah.
transform into something else,
Hmm.
but it never goes away, right?
Yes. Yeah, so
So,
we're kind of enculturated, especially in this country, in this society, in this world, that to doubt and to kind of disconnect from those things that could, in another civilization, in another culture, be more the norm. So just kind of helping people broaden I was an anthropology major in college, so I'm weaving in a little bit of just like our worldviews. And, there's so much of what we learn as in our Equine Gestalt program too. It's like, what are the cultural introjects? What are just the paradigms that we grow up in and what we're taught? And so just to start to question that a little bit more and to really trust ourselves, because I think that we all have a knowing. I think that, we're just taught to discount it
suppress
and
it,
yeah,
ignore it. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
And when we connect with that at a gut level, you don't know, when they say trust your gut, like
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
me, it literally has saved my life at
Hmm.
times. So,
Yeah.
you know, even
Yeah.
my horse will convey messaging to me. Like I will know from a distance that there's an issue with my horse, a health issue or something going on, or I'm like, oh, please let me be wrong. Please just let me for once be wrong. We don't need another $1,000 vet bill, but nope, there it is. It's
Mhm.
so, oh my
Right.
gosh.
And sometimes those things speak louder. Those are the things that we pay attention to a little bit more, the kind of the warning or the danger or the things like something's not right. And equally at the same time, there's another side of like, okay, well, what is right? What is good? What is the
Oh,
thing that brings the aliveness and the spark and the joy and the, so yeah, it goes both ways. But we do tend to give more credence and pay more attention to something like that is a warning and that is a signal, that is a danger. And so if we can kind of look at the opposite of that or the balance of that or the complement of
yeah.
that or, just all the other things that go along to start to play with it a little bit more in that space of like, all right, so what's, you know, all the fun, like serendipities and all of
Yep.
those
Oh
things like,
gosh, yes.
of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I get
Yeah.
those too. I mean, a couple of months ago, I was in my car broke down. I was like, "Oh my God, why? My car was just in the shop. Why?" And I was really upset. And then like somebody went boom, and I went, "Oh my gosh, something amazing is about to happen." Like here I am waiting for the flatbed to pick up my car. I literally looked around my car and I said, "Oh, I think this is the last time I'm going to sit in you." And I had this euphoric feeling, and sure as heck, a week later was literally gifted with an amazing vehicle from an ex-boyfriend, right, of all people, who's remained in my family forever, decades. And he was like, "Mama, you put that car in a flatbed and you send it up here to my shop out of state." And I'm like, "Okay," so I'm like, call the insurance company, pick it up, take it, flatbed it. And a week later, and he didn't share until a week later when I said, "So what's wrong with my car?" And he took out the paperwork and he was like, "There you go." I mean, right? But in the
Yeah.
middle of that, like, not again. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Then it lifted. It just because I had a trust and surrender moment where I was like, why am I getting upset? I don't even know what's wrong. I don't even know what's going on. And I literally let it go and got hit with this euphoric feeling of, oh my gosh, something amazing is about to happen, but I am going to have to say goodbye to my car. And then there it was. So yes, absolutely. It doesn't
Beautiful. Yeah.
doesn't all have to be doom and gloom and like, oh, my gut says
Yes.
something horrible is going to happen.
Yes. That's amazing. What a great story, right? When one door closes, another door opens. There you go.
Right, right. So, on that
Yeah.
note, can you share a personal story from your own riding experience where working with your chakras created a noticeable shift for you, your horse, or maybe even both of you?
So, I think the kind of the prequel to that would be when I started to really work with the more telepathic, like the third eye. But of course, it initially I wasn't thinking third eye. I'm just thinking, okay, our intuit, our thoughts and our what we're envisioning and our stories we're telling ourselves and so in having that awareness was a big shift in my journey with horses. I would say that happened, you know, 2012 or so when I started to work more with Anna and Melissa um, and that just always really resonated with me. I think if anybody were to ask me what my favorite chakra is, it's the third eye. It's that one. That's the most fun, and because I think horses are so telepathic, and I had a horse, my beautiful Bella, who was extremely telepathic, and I could just, and so when I was riding her, I could just think like, okay, we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna do this, and she just was she just knew it. I hardly had to do much more than just think it and be there with her. And so but then when I started to think more intentionally and consciously about each of the chakras as I'm riding, I'm going to talk about the brachial chakras for a minute because that's just something that has been really fun to play with and especially because I feel like it's in a sense um, a master or some people call it the key or the a major chakra or a key chakra or something that so brachials here, and it brings in it's like an aperture, and it amplifies the column of light this way by expanding it this way. And if you think about where um, we look at things in a kind of a three-dimensional model a lot of the times, but truly we're not just, what did I say, three-dimensional, two-dimensional even, right? On paper, we're looking at something two-dimensional and going, okay, we're more three-dimensional. We have this dimension. And so the adding this we have the y-axis and the x-axis, to say, hey, we take up space, we move. And then understanding how horses and their thoracic sling and their biomechanics, so that connection was really fun and beautiful to play with and look at. But when we think of it in our own body and how we can be embodied and take up space and move in a way that kind of changes our posture a little bit. And also thinking of that as this amplification and this aperture to open up light coming in, light coming through, that's going to just ground us and connect us in all those other ways. So it's like this turbo sort of lens of like, so, and just playing with that as we ride, I've had just fun playing with, okay, let me see if I can just ride with mom on brachial chakras. It's a fun thing to play with. So lots of things. I think I always intentionally work, start with the root and then maybe come up to the crown and set this intention and a space for that oneness, for that bubble of energy, for that blend, just holding space and awareness for that type of. So for me, writing really is kind of a meditation in the sense of going within a little bit, widening a peripheral perspective or way of being. And so that's just become my, it's not even really that conscious or intentional anymore. It's just sort of become more of a habit. So, yeah.
So, which chakra do you find most riders are often disconnected from, and what kind of impact does that have on their horses or even their riding experiences?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one that tends to get in the way a lot is the third eye because of the self-doubt that comes in, because of the stories and the kind of preconceived sort of notions or worries or self-deprecation or doubts, or either about themselves or about the horse or about da, 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 da. So that's one that just can really shift things in a big way. And that idea of the soft focus, that idea of just coming into a place of a little more inward. And so if I had to pick one, I'd say it starts with that one. And then I'd also have to say just the root chakra is another one, because feeling safe and feeling connected is the other just piece of the pie of foundation, that if you don't have that, you're not going to have anything else that's going to work or be that good. So, I'd say those two go hand in hand also, because the third eye is also it is the command center, right? So we have to be intentional about grounding ourselves. We have to, have the mindfulness. And so I connect that way too. So,
And do
and
you find, can I ask you this? Because I experience this all the time. And yesterday was one of those moments with two geldings, my own and another one that always asks me in the most gentle way, can you do with me what you're doing with Dakota? And with Dakota at Liberty, I do I do some releases for him. We do yoga stretches. So we do all this yoga, which he loves and usually puts him to sleep. And while I'm working on him until he's done and he says he's done, if any of the other horses approach, he'll give them a warning. He'll tilt his head to the side and flatten an ear and say, I'm not done yet, right? And then but like this gelding goose, I adore him. Oh, he's such a gentle soul. And he's so respectful. He always asks, will you, as I'm working on my gelding, he's asking from a distance, will you do me? Will
Mm,
you have time to do me next? Right. So when I finish with Dakota, and I know he's finished because his eyes are half closed, but Dakota will ask me, and I don't care if I sound like a kook, but because this is our reality, his and mine, our connection, he wants me to put my forehead on his forehead. And
mm,
we just stand there like this. And I'm like, I love you. Can I work on Goose now? And then I do the same thing I did with Dakota with Goose. And they're again at Liberty. Nobody's wearing a halter, nothing. And I get all done with Goose and I get the same request. Well, please put your forehead on my forehead. And just, I mean, I'm sure the facility owners in the house are going, what the heck is she doing now? Horses. And we're just standing there, and I get this message from him. I could cry when I even think of it because
mm.
a real hard thank you and this love. I'm
Yeah.
not imagining that, Christine. I'm not
Mm-mm,
imagining that. It's like,
mm-mm.
it's so, but to have them both do that, and then I walk away and nobody's interest, nobody walks off. They're both, you would think that they were in a trance. They're just like, okay. And it's so beautiful. And it's hard for me to tear myself away from them because I want to stand between them in this, like, this peace that is so beautiful.
Mm, yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah,
Really
that's
is.
amazing. Well, good job. Good job. Good for
Oh,
you for doing
they
that and
guide
how,
me, Christina. They
yeah,
guide
yeah.
me.
Well, you're listening, you're paying attention, and that's makes the difference, right? So how sweet, how beautiful. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
respect. It's always an ask. I never barge in. I always, when I show up at the barn, I ask them, who wants to get groomed, who wants to do their yoga,
Mhm.
who wants to,
Yeah.
and it's up to them. And I'm not insulted if they walk
Mhm.
away. And that, in fact, is why I
Mhm.
don't try to restrain them in any way because I want them to feel free to be able to just leave when they're done.
Yeah. That's great. So other than the gratitude and just the reverence and the honoring and the being in that space with you, do you get other like messages and um other insights from
Love.
them?
I feel this insane amount of gratitude from them and love. Eh,
Mm.
I can assure you there's never been anyone, meaning human, that has ever touched my heart like that. Like my whole life, when you survive trauma as a child, like severe abuse,
Mhm.
I got my first pony when I was 4 years old. And that, there's my best friend. There's my joy, you know, and like that connection started really, 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 really young and probably saved my life, right? Truly. And oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little emotional. My
No,
makeup's
it's beautiful. It's really, it's this that it's the essence, it's the core. It's what I mean, what else is there truly besides that feeling of just that love, of
unconditional love,
gratitude and
unconditional.
Yeah, it's really special. It's really
It,
beautiful.
I did not get that from my own parents who brought me into this world, you know? If you're the fourth daughter in a row that's born to a father and mother that are so wanting a son,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
you were just like, whatever, you know? But my ponies never made me feel that way. I felt like we had such
yeah,
a mutual relationship of love and respect and honor. And I always heard them speaking to me, Christina. Even back then, I heard them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You know, I would encounter as an adult encounter horses that were labeled as, you know, dangerous and would hear clear messages of I'm not dangerous, I'm in pain, I hurt, they don't understand, you know, and those I never felt in danger of those horses because I heard them. And I'm like, it's all right, I understand.
yeah.
Yeah. If you
Awesome.
stop and listen, you'll hear a lot.
Yeah,
Whew.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you, thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful.
Oh, you include guided exercises in this book, which is wonderful. What's one that you would recommend to someone to try today to begin reconnecting with themselves and their horse?
Well, I'd say the best one to begin with would be the Heaven and Earth meditation that's at the back of the book. I've actually also recorded some of these, so I'm starting to put out the recordings too for those of you who
And where,
like the guided meditations.
so to our viewers, where are those located on your
Well, they
website?
will be on the
Okay.
website within the next few weeks.
Okay.
So
Very good.
they're not there yet. They're in the works. So
Okay.
that one is kind of the first one to help with the idea of rooting and connecting to earth and opening and connecting to above and feeling that flow of energy coming through the central channel. And um, so it doesn't go into detail on each chakra. It just starts with that idea of connecting to the energy. So it's a good place to start. And there will be another version of that that does go through the chakras. So that is also coming. So yeah, that would probably be the best one to start with. It's pretty um, accessible and doesn't take you, you don't have to think too much about more than, you know, doesn't tax them for it. You know, I think
Right.
it's really grounding and relaxing and connect. It gives you the idea of being connected to the energy of the earth and the cosmos.
Nice. Thank you. So you heard it here, viewers. It is available in the back of the book, but if you wait a couple of weeks, so stay in touch, you'll be able to actually download and listen to those meditations. And I'm a big fan of meditating when I'm just not feeling right with the world. Well, my world is right when I remember to plug myself in and do a meditation before I even put my feet on the ground.
Mm,
Truly. So it's, and you know, going out to Colorado to Melissa's ranch for course and that, I would start every morning doing the trail, the bridle path around the property, and I would do the chakra releases, a meditation as it was timed perfectly as I did that. And all was right in the world. It was the best way to start the whole day,
that's fantastic.
you know, with intentions of please let me absorb all that I am going to learn today.
Yeah, you set beautiful intention. That's super powerful. That's
100%.
way to go.
So speaking of equine gestalt, which is your background, my background, part of, you know, including Gestalt, among other things that you do. How does your work as a practitioner weave into the theme of riding with the chakras?
You know, I think one of the pillars of the Gestalt work is um, the idea of contact, the idea of
Mhm.
being present and connecting, the idea of bringing something into your awareness that may be outside of your awareness. So I'd say for me, that's really at the heart of how I work with people is um, helping to bring in something that's otherwise outside of their awareness, whether it's what the horse is offering or what they are maybe unconsciously projecting. Um, and the idea of being present and finding that connection, that contact um, through that self-awareness and through that
Mm,
intention of being present and being grounded and
yeah.
centered and aligned and knowing um, having a better sense of self in terms of self-awareness, in terms of self-knowledge, because truly I think that's where empowerment, comes from.
Hmm.
So
Sure.
those themes mostly.
Well, you talk about becoming more grounded and aligned. What are some signs that a rider isn't energetically grounded? And how might a horse mirror that? Do they mirror that?
Some do as prey animals if they feel that somebody's not grounded or somebody's not present or somebody's maybe
Mm.
worried about something. Horses might get worried themselves or they might not be worried and they might give that person a signal of, hey, pay attention. So there's different ways that they can reflect that to us. So I think a lot of it has to do with breath and just how where is the nervous system, where is that person, just in terms of their own regulation. So and the very first things that I will do with somebody at the moment or even before, but the moment they're in the saddle is to just not just breathe but exhale, bring it
Right.
down, feel
Right.
feel down in our lower bellies, down in the root and the sacral chakra, that sense of just being grounded and letting things kind of decompress and fall away
Sure.
and let gravity be your friend. And um so typically if somebody's kind of up here or in their head or just not being present, that's really the where it starts too. So just helping somebody like stop, slow down, take a
Mm.
breath, come to that place of being more more embodied.
Especially when you're on
That's
the back of a horse, right? I mean, think about it. You watch horses in a herd, right? That lead mare is going to signal. So her fight or flight maybe gets triggered, and she's got to energetically as well as physically tell the rest of the herd, we need to go. So if you're climbing on the back of a horse and you're in fight or flight, right? So your lizard brain just took control. What is your horse saying? We better bolt and run. Holy crap, there's probably a mountain lion behind us. Let's go, right?
right.
So what I would, and I don't do this like you do. I don't train anybody. I'm not a coach. I'm not a trainer, but I certainly would want to do some box breathing and get out of triggered mode, and get into my, frontal
Yes,
cortex. And so that I can convey to my horse, don't worry, we're all good, instead of climbing on your back. And I'm like, I can't even breathe. I'm shallow breathing and I'm terrified. Holy crap, right?
exactly. Yeah. And there is a little place in the middle too, because not everybody can just go from, you know, one end to the other. So that's where you can be authentic and just be about, okay, and you have to have the right horse who can help that, rather than a horse who needs more of our
Right.
calm, but a horse that can help offer calm to the rider. So having the good combination is very helpful.
Right. And
Yeah, because it
perhaps
takes, you know,
go ahead. I'm sorry
I
I
was just gonna
interrupted
say,
you.
yeah, I don't know, just that it takes a little, it takes building that, muscle and that those neural pathways and just that
Right.
practice of like, I'm okay, and because yeah, I mean, it's there's a everyone's on a different path there, and it doesn't take, even experienced riders who've had falls and other things. There are these, little things that come up inside of us that takes the practice of
Right.
working through those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I tend to when I'm riding, and if I start to feel a little uneasiness about something, I will start singing, humming, and to remind
Mhm.
myself to like swallow, breathe, and then do my box breathing to get myself back in a good place. But you're right, it does take practice. I even had a moment out hiking with my dog earlier this morning, where it kind of hit me like I'm out in the middle of nowhere on a not so great morning. It's misting, and they've been talking about a serial killer that's
Oh
been
gosh.
in oh yeah, that's been like they've found him, spotted him in different hiking trails and it hit me, and I had to literally stop and like do my breathing and get myself back into a place of,
Yeah.
calm because I
Right.
was going to freak
And
out.
that brings up also a good point too of like, we all want calm to be the goal, calm, calm, calm. And yeah, that's great. And at the same time, we also just have to be aware and know
Aware.
what's going on and have the ability to make a good response to something and rather than just a reaction to something. And so, yeah, that's just it,
Yeah, and that was my signal of be aware, exactly aware of if you had to call 911 right now, where would you tell them to find you? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's where it put me. So I had to stop and I'm like, breathe into this, get yourself calm. What would you say? So I could
yeah,
rehearse it in my head. And then I was
yeah,
fine for the rest of the walk.
yeah.
So
There you
I don't
go.
know.
There you go. Yeah,
Oh,
good job.
so tell me, what has been the response from readers and fellow horse lovers? Have you heard any particularly moving stories from someone who tried the practice in your book?
I have a small collection of the most lovely testimonies of people who've had, you know, good experiences where they've incorporated these things into their life with the horses, and or even just how it's helped to shift, and open up a new way of thinking, a new way of being, and so um, it's made, that's what makes the whole thing worth it is getting that kind of feedback. And I have had some really, truly lovely feedback from people.
Oh,
So
I'll bet
yes,
you have.
it's
I'll
been
bet you
really nice. Yes, love it, love it.
Oh, so Christina, what's next for you on this journey? Any future books, workshops, projects you're excited about that our audience should know?
Well, the thing I'm excited about that I'm working on at the moment is a program for teens and preteens, but I think it'll actually be something that will work great for the adults too. But I'm having fun creating it from this perspective because in a lot of the coaching work, and I so often say, why didn't they teach us this stuff when we were growing up? About ourselves, about people, about the world, about so many things. And so, one of my brands that I've had in some different capacities is Wisdom Through Horses as a name for a program. And so I'm using that title with this program that's geared towards the teen and preteens. Um, it'll be like a 5 or 6 week program that can be done in however you want to break into those modules. But it's essentially like we were talking about initially, of how we're sort of taught to disconnect and not trust ourselves, and where is that entry point of, okay, well, we're energy and we're connected. And so this program starts with those topics and those things, and brings in the horses. It's not a riding program, but it is an equine partnered workshop. So it's the wisdom through the horses. The acronym is WIP, and the tagline is because we're never alone. And to learn how to really trust our wisdom, our inner wisdom, and where that all comes from. So I'm very excited about it, and I would love to share it with other horse people who are facilitating with with kids, with people, however they might want to do it, whether it's coaches or riding instructors or anybody doing, equine assisted, whatever. Because it's a really beautiful program that connects us to those universal concepts and ideas, and nature, and our own inner wisdom, our own innate wisdom, and learning how to trust ourselves, and learning how to listen to ourselves better, and understand our energy and how we communicate. There's so much in that space of nonverbal communication. So yeah, at the moment, that, as well as the riding with the chakras workshops that I call empowering connection, because they're also unmounted. The riding with the chakras workshops are unmounted. It is equine supported. It is facilitated with the horses, but the exercises are not. It's, there may be a demo, there may be one person who's riding, but most of it would be stuff that we do on the ground, and stuff that we can, could take into the saddle, or it can be for somebody who's not a rider, or for anybody really, because truly the horses and the riding are the metaphor for life and relationships. So it kind of broadens um, the audience there a bit.
Beautiful, beautiful. And to our audience, hey, just click on any of those links to get more information if you're interested. I'm sure you are. Christina, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your heart, and your journey with us today. Riding with the Chakras isn't just a book, it's an invitation to deepen the sacred partnership between horse and human in a way that honors the body. It
Thank you
also
so much. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
it also honors the breath and the unseen energy that connects all of us. And for those of you listening who feel a quiet nudge that there's more to horsemanship than just technique, I encourage you to explore Christina's work. Whether you're new to energy awareness or already on a path of conscious connection, this book offers powerful insights and practical tools to help you ride not just with your body, but with your whole being. We'll have links below where you can learn more, grab a copy of her book, and find out how to connect with Christina for upcoming workshops or personal work. And as always, thank you to our incredible audience for being here, for being open, and for choosing to walk and ride a more mindful path. And until next time, take a breath, listen to your horse, and trust your intuition because it knows the way. Thank you, Christina.
Thank
We'll
you,
be in
Kimberly.
touch.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll meet again, I'm sure.
I look forward to it. All right. Take care.
Horses really have so many qualities that help us to find that sense of inner peace. I think that they have a profound sense of groundedness. They live on the earth. They're connected to the ground, 24/7. They're out there. They're under the moonlight. They're under the stars. They're just a part of nature. And I think when we're with them, they help us remember that we're also a part of nature. A lot of it for me is feeding the soul and helping us to remember our true selves, and what matters, and what's important, and what makes us happy, and what really feeds our spirit. My parents got divorced when I was 11, and so my pony, Penny, was, really helped me through that. I didn't realize it so much at the time, but sure, looking back on it, that was a big piece for me, was having my pony and, that part of my life. And they also, one of the things that's really cool, the Heart Math Institute has done a lot of studies on the heart field resonance of horses and humans, and horses have a great big heart energy field. They've measured it up to about 15 feet. And so when we're in their presence, we're in that heart space. And, I think it helps us come into coherence a little bit more. And horses will do so many different things to reflect to us, whether we're in that space or not. It's one of the reasons that horses are so beautiful in the work with coaching and in psychotherapy. They'll really reflect and help people understand when they're in that place or not. And so, their energy is pretty incredible. They're just these beautiful spiritual beings that represent, freedom and power and beauty and grace and on truth too. I think there's an element of authenticity that horses have. They're not like dogs. People think they're big dogs, and they're truly not. They're truly not attached to us liking them or, things that maybe, dogs or other animals might. So they're just unique in that sense that they have over, the millennium chosen to engage with people. I believe if they didn't want to, they wouldn't. And at the same time, I believe they're here to help us, and that they do choose to engage with us in ways to, they're more intelligent than we are, so they're trying to help us out here.